I said, what I'm starting to see is that jealousy, hate, and envy is being disguised in jokes. I said, that's what I'm saying.
Well, Club Shay Shay is getting messier and messier. It's almost like Wendy Williams didn't go anywhere. She just got a weight set.
Shannon Sharpe built a media empire on being an undisputed winner, but his biggest victory might be the very thing that triggers his downfall. The record-shattering Katt Williams interview on Club Shay Shay pulled in over 60 million views, making Shannon the king of sports and culture media. But just months later, the crown is heavy and whispers are turning into roars. Comedians are calling him out, former fans are labeling him a messy gossip, and insiders are claiming his reputation is now so toxic that A-listers are running for the hills. The man who seemed untouchable is now being accused of orchestrating a drama trap that has backfired spectacularly. But how did it all implode so fast? The shocking theory emerging is that Shannon is now blaming one man for this entire mess, Katt Williams. The question is, did Katt really wreck Shannon's career, or did Shannon's own ambition lead him to fly too close to the sun? When the nearly 3-hour interview first dropped, it was an internet-breaking moment. The numbers were staggering, and the immediate shockwave was all centered on Katt Williams. He came onto Shannon's platform and unloaded years of unfiltered accusations against some of the biggest names in comedy. He held nothing back, and as a result, the industry's fire and fury were aimed directly at him. Fans were hyped, but his peers were furious. They accused him of being a bitter, washed-up comedian, trying to tear down successful Black entertainers to make himself relevant again. It seemed like a simple story. Katt Williams had started a war, and he was the one who would have to face the consequences. The first shots fired back at Katt came swiftly. Cedric the Entertainer, whom Katt accused of stealing one of his signature jokes, immediately went public to defend his legacy. He dismissed Katt's claims as revisionist history, pointing to his extensive career of over 40 movies and multiple comedy specials as proof that his success wasn't built on one joke. He called Katt's tough talk corny as fuck and warned him that he was a grown man who wouldn't be intimidated. Then came Kevin Hart. Katt had called him an industry plant, a fraud whose success was manufactured by Hollywood insiders. Kevin, who has a long and bitter history with Katt, clapped back hard. He publicly called Katt a clown who belonged in a circus, reigniting their old beef and framing Katt as delusional. The narrative was set. Katt was the lone wolf attacker, and the rest of the comedy world was uniting against him. But while Katt Williams was taking all the heat, Shannon Sharpe made a very interesting and calculated move. He stayed completely silent. He didn't defend his guest. He didn't weigh in on the controversy. He just sat back and watched the chaos unfold as his view count climbed into the tens of millions. At first, it seemed like a smart business decision, staying neutral and letting the drama fuel his platform. But as the days turned into weeks, people started to wonder why. Why wouldn't Shannon say a single word to support the man who had just delivered him the biggest interview in YouTube history? This silence was the first crack in Shannon's armor, a hint that perhaps his role in this wasn't just that of a passive observer. He had lit the match, and now he was quietly walking away from the fire while Katt burned. The public's perception of Shannon began to drastically shift after his next viral interview, this time with Monique. She came on Club Shay Shay and unleashed her own storm of controversy, calling out Oprah, Tyler Perry, and even members of her own family. The interview was another massive success, but it also revealed a disturbing pattern. Viewers and critics started connecting the dots. Club Shay Shay was no longer just a show about sports and success, it was becoming a stage for score settling. The accusation surfaced that Shannon was creating a drama trap, inviting outspoken and controversial figures onto his show specifically so they could air out their grievances and attack others, while all he profited from the ensuing outrage. The platform was no longer about insightful conversation, it was about generating conflict. Just when the tide was turning, one of the most respected voices in comedy stepped in and changed the entire conversation. Dave Chappelle publicly called out the whole situation, and he wasn't talking about Katt Williams, he was talking about Shannon Sharpe. Speaking on the disturbing trend, Chappelle asked, "Now what part of the game is this? You ain't calling out none of these white boys. None of them function like that. Katt is one of the best painters in the game, so why are you trying to paint ugly pictures of us? Chappelle was heartbroken and angry, stating that Katt was helping to ruin the bags of his fellow black men. But his sharpest critique was aimed at the platform itself. He questioned the ethics of a show that profited from tearing down black entertainers. Chappelle's words were a bombshell, acting as the conscience of comedy and giving a voice to the growing unease people felt. The spotlight was now firmly off Katt and fixed directly on Shannon. With his credibility now under attack, Shannon's composure began to visibly unravel. The messiest chapter came when comedian Mike Epps took the stage during a stand-up set and launched a bizarre attack on Shannon. Epps claimed Shannon had been begging him to come on Club Shay Shay, and then made a wild, unfounded insinuation about Shannon's personal life. Shannon, already on edge from the mounting criticism, did not let it slide. He went live online, absolutely furious, and tore into Mike Epps. He accused him of being a clout-chasing liar and denied ever contacting him. The situation escalated until Epps eventually went live and admitted he had fabricated the entire story. But the damage was done. Hip-hop legends Mace and Cameron got involved, clowning Shannon for being so quick to fight and acting like he was ready to throw hands over a podcast beef. Shannon fired back at them too, looking increasingly agitated and defensive. The image of the cool, collected media mogul was shattering in real time, replaced by a man who seemed to be losing control. This is where the story takes its most shocking turn. Behind the scenes, the narrative has completely flipped. According to insiders, Shannon Sharpe is now placing all the blame for his current predicament directly on Katt Williams. Word is he's been venting privately, claiming that Katt hijacked his platform and turned it into a circus. He allegedly feels that Katt's explosive tirade has permanently damaged the reputation of Club Shay Shay, making it toxic for any A-list celebrity who doesn't want to be associated with public drama. The man who was once celebrating his viral success is now reportedly claiming that very success has ruined him, making it nearly impossible to book the caliber of guests he once did. In a stunning twist, Shannon is trying to paint himself as the victim of Katt's uncontrollable chaos. So, has Shannon Sharpe's empire begun to crumble? And if so, who is truly to blame? On one hand, you have the argument that Shannon is just a brilliant host who provided a platform for a guest who came with his own agenda. He didn't force Katt to say anything. He simply asked questions and let the man talk. From this perspective, the backlash he's facing is nothing more than jealousy from competitors who are envious of his record-breaking numbers. But on the other hand, there's a much darker interpretation. This view holds that Shannon consciously turned his platform into a modern-day gladiator arena, fully aware that pitting black entertainers against each other would generate historic views. He stoked the flames and reaped rewards, but now the fire is out of control and it's burning his own house down. The question remains for everyone to debate. Is Shannon Sharpe a mastermind who lost control of his own creation, or is he simply getting a taste of the messy, controversial world he helped build?